Everybody, we're back again. Dr. Professor Cheeseburger in. We just freed Boma from the mist and basically helped Grantes find himself again. He was a Soren, now he's not, but he gave us a flute from the Soren. Now we have to go climb another mountain because every area seems to have their own mountain that we have to climb. But this time we're going to go summon the Soren so we can actually go meet them and hopefully destroy the floating castle. So here we go. All right. So over here was where those glaciers were. And yep, they're gone. So we're going to go all the way up here. See the mist pop up. And these enemies might be a little bit stronger than what we've faced so far. Or they might be Groods. Man, look at Ozma. Meta's looking big too. Oh, look at Terra. It's so weird that that's the order that they just went in. Gala first. Oh wow, those guys are weak. We need to save up a little bit of money so we can get a little bit better armor. Okay, so we can kind of see Meta there. He's got a couple spikes. So yeah, let's do that. We can't really see Terra from this angle, but that's okay. Look at Ozma. Ozma's like halfway up his bicep. It's a weird thing to do. It's like handing him flame, I guess. There you go. Almost 2,000. Nice job, Vaughn. What you got, Noah? Ooh, closer to 2,000. All right, we're doing some good damage now. Whoa, wow, look at Terra. Got some wings there. Terra's going up Noah's arm, too. I think Gala ends up covering the most area, though. Alright, so now the enemy should start getting a lot stronger. We might go back to our other combos. Don't want to use up all the AP. There we go, some recolors. Yep. There you go. 159 rather than like 12. Yeah, these guys are the tough ones now. I mean, not that I want them doing this much damage, but hey, whatever. Yeah, let's go back to high. Do I want to start like oh yeah, there we go. High, low. That's not gonna do anything, but there you go. And let's get Gala back to what do we do? There we go. Let's see what that does. Yeah. Excuse me. Good job, Gala. Yeah. Oh, that thing survived. Surprising. So significantly less damage. Probably because these guys are stronger and because we're not using their hyper arts, which are much stronger. But that's okay. We still beat them. Just, Just gotta keep driving through. There we go. We're starting to see this mountain now. Oh boy, that one looks big. Looks bigger than both of the other mountains combined. That's fun. Mt Dhini. All right. First thing we do, because I'm sure the things here are not going to be easy to beat, we save. Oh, look, Songhai. I don't know if there's a boss here or not, but either way, it's going to be a while. I guess that's Birdman Gate. So there was no way to get to this mountain without the Soren Flute, so we had to help Grantes and Kara. Alright. Up we go. Even the mountains are recolored. I would love to see these things like... Oh, hey, look! A new Saru and an old one, level 2. The last time we saw... Amushara? Whatever. Amushura. Last time we saw one of those was on a mountain. Go figure. And now we have an Iota. Ooh. Thank you, Jesus. That was almost really bad. Alright, Vaughn, get it. And let's do this. Orb. Boom. I guess I forgot to get Gala a spoon. That's okay. There'll be plenty of chances for it. Not plenty, but there'll be more chances to get spoons. There we go. Out of the red. Good job, Vaughn. Oh. You blocked the hit that you were supposed to take fully. 100 damage a hit? Okay, sure. Alright, blocked a little. Alright, they finally attacked somebody else other than Vaughn. There you go. Don't leave it any chance to recover there. Noah, my gosh, that was so much damage. Moni. I don't know what he's saying. Sometimes I play this at work. Being in AV, sometimes you have a lot of downtime. And sometimes, so what I really do is I'm an LED tech. Meaning I go to live events, concerts, conferences and stuff. I set up LED. And this is just one thing I do. I don't always do just that. Nice, Vaughn. I help lead people to build this wall, like not just one, multiple walls, a single wall, whatever it is. It's always different. I lead people in doing that, and then a lot of times I'll program it, and just make sure it looks good. There's a good bit of work involved in that. Oh, an Iron Man. And another Iota. But what was I saying? I'm sorry. But yeah, once the show is going, a lot of times I'm there as a in case. Because if we're doing rehearsals and something happens on the LED wall, there's a flicker on it because of whatever reason, or hey, that panel just decided to go bad. It doesn't happen very often, but occasionally it does. And I'm there to fix it. Or a lot of times I'm just there to be a little extra help. Like, oh hey, can we get your help carrying this chair up on stage during this section of the show? Sure. I mean, I'm really not doing a whole lot during show. Now that's not all the time. I mean, some clients have asked like, so, like, what do you do during the show? And I'm like, hey, listen, if you see me running around, like, working really hard during a show, that is usually not a good sign. Why? Because if the LED tech is running around, that means there's a problem. It doesn't matter what it is, there is a problem. And especially for me, because I rarely ever am just an LED tech. And I know that there are people that understand this. There are AV techs who understand that sometimes you get on a job, a show, whatever, and they ask you to do this, but then like, oh yeah, I also know how to do this. Like, hey, can you run graphics? Could you do screen control? Could you be a stagehand a little bit? And some people will just be like, no, that's not my job. For me, like, if you're asking me to go from building an LED wall to, hey, can you run front of house, like audio? I'm going to be like, it's been a really long time since I've run audio. Like, for a front of house role. I've done like breakout room audio recently. I went to school actually and got a degree in audio radio production. And the company I started working for the most out of college was a video only company at the time. And it's just been, I've just forgotten so much, you know? I used to do it all the time. I worked at a church, not worked, but I volunteered a lot at a church in Florida. Because if you're going to be an AV tech, you either start out at a theater or a church. It's just how it is. Like, there's rarely ever in between. Ooh, an unholy icon. Right after we talk about church. I think that means the enemy can't block. I'm not sure. We'll figure that out later. Anyway. So yeah, I started working. I was volunteering at a church doing their AV. Like, all of it. Not all of it, but I ran a lot of different things. I did their lights sometimes, which wasn't a lot. I did easy worship. Throwback to anybody who remembers that. Let me know if you've ever worked with that one. Until eventually they switched over to Pro Presenter, which is a lot of people in the industry use it. It's especially in the church environment. So if you do like youth conferences or big church events, a lot of times you're going to see Pro Presenter, especially if they have music, because a lot of those guys are going to be like, oh yeah, we'll just send you a Pro Presenter bundle, which basically just means they take all these songs, they put all the lyrics on the slides, and then once it's all looking good, you can export it as a Pro bundle, put it in a different Pro Presenter machine, like just some other computer that has Pro Presenter, import it, and it's like, oh, it saves exactly what you got. So, for those who don't know. But nice, Vaughn. Very good. But yeah, when I first started out, I was running camera and building LED, and for those who know, ooh, actually, let's heal him right now. For those who know, when you first start off in this industry, a lot of people will say like, well, you can't say no to anything because then they'll just stop calling you. You got to do whatever, you know, to get on shows so you get called more, because they're like, oh, this guy's super helpful, let's keep calling him. So you do as much as you can, even if it's not technically part of your job. And you do what you got to do to keep getting the calls until you're firmly established, and then you can start saying, I don't know about that. Also, Vaughn was doing really good there. Let's have him spirit again. So, I don't know, I've lost my train of thought. I've just kind of been rambling about what I do. And I know when I first started, I was doing anything. I really didn't want to run camera, but I did. I also, and I know some AV techs a lot of AV techs have dealt with this in the beginning, have had to drive trucks. Not a lot, actually. Maybe a good amount have had to deal with that, but I've had to drive a box truck for a while because the company I started off with was small, and they had semis, but not many. I was like, I'm not driving a semi. Oh, we got ambushed. But, I drove a box truck. I'll tell you a story. My first box truck trip, I was in college at the time. Obviously, I wasn't going to say no to anything in college. So I get a phone call, and I'm like, well, I'm done with classes for the day. I'm like, hello. Hey, man, what are you doing right now? I just got out of class. I'm just eating some lunch. Okay. Do you want to drive down to Atlanta? And I'd driven cars down to Atlanta. I was like, sure, why not? Can you drive a box truck? No. Okay. Do you want to go down and get your medical card and go down to Atlanta and pick some gear up and I'll pay you? What? And I will say that was it. There was no training. There was go to Enterprise, pick up this truck, go down to Atlanta to VER, as they were at the time, pick up a bunch of gear, and then drive it back. And I was like, I've driven through Atlanta with friends, and it was terrible. And let me tell you, driving through Atlanta with a box truck is no less terrible. It was awful. So one thing I did that I didn't know I was supposed to do was I skipped a way station. I didn't get caught. Nobody said anything because I think it was too small of it. Oh, it's not going to do anything. But I didn't know because nobody had ever explained this to me. I literally was just driving down to Atlanta. And I'm in Knoxville. It's about a 3.5 hour drive it was about a 3.5 hour drive for me. Obviously got stuck in traffic. So it was really late by the time I got back. And I was just like, man, I don't even care. I'm getting paid. I'm freaking out a little bit, but at least I'm going to get paid because I'm broke. And after that, it was years. It took years to get out of driving trucks. I would show up on a show, day of, night before, whatever, start working. And, the company was small. They didn't really know all the DOT rules. They've since changed a lot, and they know now. But, it was a small company at the time. I think a lot of it was they didn't realize it, didn't know, whatever. And so that was like my early days of working for this company. And over time I learned more about the LED. I learned more about setting up what we call a fly pack, which is you've got your switcher, which changes your source to the screens or live stream or whatever, your cameras, graphics, and all that. And you've got your switcher, you've got your router, so it can you can take in a bunch of different inputs, send out a bunch of outputs. It was setting all of that up, getting it all to work and talk to each other. I started learning that. I learned I knew how to do graphics, but I started doing that more and more. And then next thing you know, I'm like There's very little in the video side of things that this company does that I don't know anymore, because I just have had to do all of it, which is fine. I don't mind doing multiple jobs. I do mind when it's like, hey, can you do all of these jobs at the same time? I don't know about that. But setting up comms. If you're any sort of AV person and you've had to set up comms as a video person, or if you think like video should have to set it up, well, that's normally not what it is. It's usually an audio thing. But whatever. I know how to do it. Oh, he didn't take him down. Anyway, eventually they started buying lighting and audio. And, you know, when you work in the industry long enough, you start understanding other departments a little bit better, because at some point you have to interact with them in some degree, to some degree. And you just kind of pick some things up, listening to others, talking to others. Like, if you're on a small show where it's just a front of house guy, a lighting guy, and maybe one graphics person to put things on the screens, and that's it, just the three of you, maybe a show caller, maybe something else, you guys can get to talking and just, you might shoot the breeze, but you might also just start talking about your jobs or whatever, or you might overhear. If you have more people, like an L2, which is, a second lighting person, basically, if you might overhear them talking about things, and maybe you're just curious, and you're like, hey, what's, why is that fixture called like a 9-channel mode or 5-channel mode or 32-channel mode or 64 or whatever? There's a lot we could go into with that, but I'm not going to, not now, at least. But, you just pick things up, and eventually I started being a L2 on a couple of things. Not a lot. I wouldn't say I'm especially good at lighting. There was a point during COVID, especially, where that company had, started a studio, right? They started a studio. It was very small, but they had lights in it, and I wasn't on staff, and I was like, I need to learn something. I got to keep myself useful. I got to keep my skills sharp. So I went in and volunteered a couple of times, which paid off for me, because they were like, hey, we got to get this guy back in as much as we can, as these events started popping back up. And at one point they let me come in, and they said, as long as you don't delete this show file, you can mess with our Grand MA2, which is a lighting console, otherwise known as the Grandma. And I did. I actually watched a crash course video on it. And, okay. I watched a crash course video on how to program lights and all that, and I actually got, not great, but I could do it. I could get all the lights programmed. I could get a basic look up. It wasn't, what they call flash and trash. I couldn't get all the lights to start moving, certain patterns and stuff like that. I didn't get that far. But I got them all on. I could move the moving lights wherever I needed to. I could do all kinds of things. Made a macro, which, if you don't know, a macro for certain things is like an MA or a switcher or something like that, where you push a button and it will automatically carry out all of these other commands. Well, for the MA, you can make it do all kinds of things if you need to. What I had to do was, as soon as you hit the button, it automatically programmed all the colors in. So, you wipe all the previous stuff out, but you hit this, I load up my file and push this macro button. It started loading like red, green, yellow, blue, all that in whatever color order I wanted. And it was just a simple thing where it was maybe 30% of this color, 30 of this, 0 of this, to change the colors to go from red to purple in all that. That took a long time to make. But, that's just some of the things I learned. And over the years, I had been helping other companies work. And, wondering a minute. And by helping these other companies, I started learning other things. Like I started kind of getting back into audio. I started learning how to set up motors, how to run motors. The motors are the things that like lift the truss up in the air. So when you're at a concert and you see lights hanging off of something or LED wall hanging off of something, that's truss. Above that, hopefully you can't see them because we don't really want you to, is motors. And those motors are what is holding all of it up. But they're on chains, so you plug in the power, you plug in the control cable, or both if that's the kind it is, and then you could just push the right buttons, flip the right switches, whatever, and just raise or lower it to get it to height. And then you can also just level it out because not all motors run at the same speed for whatever reason. But yeah, I learned a lot over the years to where I am a jack of all trades. I used to hate even anything like that with my name. Like, I'm not gonna ever use my name as a pun or anything like that. Now I'm just like, why? Who cares? I pretty much am. I wouldn't say there's any I'm particularly like amazing at. There are people who are better at all areas than me, but I can be good. I'm pretty good at all of them. My biggest one, of course, is LED techs. Is being an LED tech. Let's go ahead and heal everybody because Vaughn is really low on health. So, yeah, I don't go. I go out. I make a lot of these, and then I also travel. I make these when I can, these videos, and I don't know. It's just a nice hobby to do. So I don't play these games while I'm out on the road. I'm literally playing it right now on my PS4 controller. I'm playing a PS1 game on a PS4 controller. It makes sense. But yeah, it shows an LED tech, you don't want them running around. You want them to sit there and not do anything because that means everything's going smooth. And, if you see them just getting up and looking around, like before and after a lot of shows, I'll, not all the time. Sometimes I definitely forget. But, I'll tell screen control or I'll tell graphics, hey, can you put something up on the wall real quick and I'll take a look? Like, okay, it looks pretty good. Now, one thing that is the eternal struggle of all LED people is dead pixels. You might notice them on big LED walls everywhere or small ones or whatever size. And especially gear that travels, like dead pixels are just inevitable. It just happens. Because they're moving, people pull them out of the case wrong, whatever. They get bumped on the way while you're putting them up. There's all kinds of reasons for pixels to go bad. And the higher the res panel, like if you have a 3mm panel, a 3mm panel, like the pixels are 3mm apart or 3 point whatever, you could put some stronger stuff in between them and really hold it down, right? With higher res, like if you have a 1.9mm, you have less and less space in between, so the pixels don't have a lot holding them back on the panel. So they just get more and more fragile. They look great. High-res panels look great. And you can get the wall closer to people if you have higher-res panels, because otherwise you get moire, which is like, if you want to see... Oh, hey, I absorbed it. Got it. Nice. If you want to see them array, look at somebody with like a tight pattern shirt, like a white shirt with those like lines that make the little squares, and like look at it, and you'll see like at certain angles, at certain distances, you'll see like it does weird things with your eyes. And I mean like a tight pattern, small, tiny squares, because your eyes are trying to process what's there, and it's just switching, like going so quickly because it's so small. Well, with the LED, it's the same thing. Those pixels are really, really tiny, and that camera, if it's moving to follow somebody, it's it's so hard to explain. I understand it, but it's so hard to explain for me. Oh, we're not going to use that, but we could. Man, they just won't leave us alone. Maybe we should have. Anyway, so dead pixels really are the eternal struggle. So a lot of these panels that you see, like you see these big walls, but they're actually made up of like little panels, right? Some of them they're anywhere from like a foot ish to like 2 feet wide or tall. It just depends on the kind of panel. Okay, it depends on the manufacturer, depends on all kinds of things. And I better heal everybody, actually. And I lost my train of thought again, man. And the panels, what am I saying? These panels, if they oh yeah, so the panels are made up of little squares or rectangles or whatever shape they decide to make them in. People call them mods. Some people call the panels tiles. It just depends on where you are, it's whatever. I go to a place, I say panels most of the time. If people start saying tiles, I might switch over to say tiles to be less confusing. I don't care. It's whatever helps us all understand each other and get the job done, So, older panels they didn't have magnets on them. So one of the first panels I worked with, actually, you couldn't even remove a module. You basically had to pull the entire panel out. So they had a latch in there that you pushed in and twisted, and then it had another thing that you screwed down over it to tighten it together. And you had to undo all of those around it, push the panel out front because it couldn't come back. You pushed it out front, somebody grabbed it, and they shoved another one in there. It sucked. But the next panel I worked with was one that you had to take the brain off. The brain is what controls it. It tells, it gives all the information. It takes the power, the signal, and puts it on the actual modules. You have to take that off. It was these 2 latches. You twisted them up, pulled it off. Then there were 8 screws around each module that you had to undo. Then you could push it out. Somebody else could just push a new one in. You screwed it back down, popped it on, boom, done. It was not fun because it just took. Oh, there's a save point. We're getting close because it just, it took a while. Now they've got panels where you don't have to remove anything. You can just punch them out. I say punch. You actually kind of do, because you got to get that magnet to detach. There's a safety on them so that if the magnets just decide to lose it, they're just gonna fall, but they're not gonna slam on the ground. You just push it out. Somebody puts a new one in real quick. You don't even have to kill the panel if you don't want to. You should. A lot of times it's better to turn off the panel still, but even still, you're not pulling the entire brain off unless that's the issue. For a module swap, though, all you're doing is boom, boom, done. So yeah, that's just My job is to be that guy that does that, because if it's happening at a downtime or even during a show, and they say, "Hey, we need to change this out. We need to do whatever." She hadn't even appeared yet, and she said that. But yeah, like, that's my job a lot of times. So a lot of times you won't see me. Been playing Vaughn. Ooh, there's 4 of them. And that's music that means we're not happy about this. All right, Grant is. Whoa. Whoa. Can do whatever we want. Of course we are. Whoa. I guess so. I gotta fly for this. Are they even talking? I guess it is agreeable. All right. So I guess we're going to the Soren camp. Look at Noah. Lon and Galler are just like, oh, this is cool. Noah's been flapping the whole way. Those wings are strong if they can hold them up. Noah probably weighs like nothing, but Vaughn's getting a little bit. He's a strong boy. He's a strong boy at 14. He's getting big. Gala is an 18-year-old, and he's a buff dude. I mean, he's probably weighing quite a bit. All right, so where is the Soren camp? It's not even on the continent. It's an island. We were never going to reach it, because those peaks are real high. She's been flapping her arms the whole way. Boundless energy. You know those kids that you see at the mall that they're just like scream, that they just scream and they just never seem to stop? That's Noah. Interesting song to play here. Hello. Why, yes, I did. All right, so first we got to go find the Elder. I think he's not over here. Okay, so I think, is there something over here? There's this guy. Okay, so that guy is going to be our arts teacher in this place. But we got to go find a book in the floating castle. Cool. Let's not talk to anybody else and get this wonder elixir. Very useful. Well, we've already freed 2 other places, so, cool. Oh, that was a quick decision. Huh. You sure? Grant looked as is Grantis' older brother. And that's their father right there. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. Making sure there's nothing behind. I think I healed up before, so we're not going to use our money. But what we are going to go do is not talk to him or her. We are going to go over here, because I think you had to talk to the elder first. I guess we'll just go around. Healing fruit. Very useful. All right. Let's see how much... Oh, we can't buy much of anything. We can buy better... Oh, look at that. Those boots for him would be really nice. Wow, I didn't realize she was so far behind. So, should we equip, like... Basically, it's between Gala or Noah. Let's go with Noah. Back up to 6,000 points. Okay, so we can sell a few things. We're not going to sell that. Let's get rid of that. Whoa. I don't know if we're going to get rid of that. No, I've never used that, so we're going to sell it. There are some things, though, that I'm just like, I don't want to sell that. I want to sell that. Sell that. All right. Can we buy anything else? Triumph boots. I mean, in all honesty, his lower defense is pretty weak. Plus, it would increase his attack. But Vaughn could use the attack too. Because we use Gala mostly for magic now. Still. Yeah, let's just do that. Look at that. We got a lot out of that one. Where is it? Fighting boots. Okay. So we're a little bit more prepared. We don't have the best armor or weapons yet, but we have pretty good stuff. So I think that's a good place to cap this video. And next time, we'll go destroy the floating castle. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.